Hi everyone, this is Usha Pandit, your Mindsprings English teacher. If you are on my channel for the first time, do subscribe, press that bell notification so that when we put up videos, you get it instantly. Make sure that you share it, give us a like and put your comments in the box. Today I'm going to do a plan with you, especially if you are an English teacher who's teaching middle school for creative writing. This will be something for you to think about. Now for those who don't know, remember that the book you want is Writing with Ease, my book, very popular, found on Amazon and on our website www.mindsprings.in. It has a huge amount of vocabulary, it's got all the genres, resources. It's not an exercise book. It's a reference book, something that you will use and you will probably give to your grandchildren. It's that kind of book. So take a look at it, invaluable for all writing that you are likely to do in school and in college. So the writing plan that I did was to look at how to use dialogue in writing. Very often you will find very small children using dialogue in writing, and they are doing it mainly because they do not want to do the indirect speech. So instead of saying that she went home to her mother and she was told that she should wear a coat because it was cold, long sentences like that, they cut it down and they say she went home to mother and mother said, put on your coat. So you have in inverted commas, put on your coat. So they do the direct speech, which is kind of sweet in the primary, but then later on you kind of are asked to put your work into indirect speech and you wonder why do dialogue at all? Dialogue has a place and you need to understand the power of dialogue before you actually start writing them. Now, when you do creative writing, especially if you are writing a story, you need a genre. So, if you are writing an imaginative genre or a fantasy, or you are writing a mystery story, or you are writing suspense, or you are writing horror, or you are writing a romance, you could be writing lots of stories. And in those stories, you could be creating characters. Very often, very strong characters are created by the use of dialogue. So today's lesson is about dialogue writing and how dialogue writing affects character building in stories. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do with you. So writing and reading character through dialogue for middle school teachers of creative writing. I want you to get your students to first start thinking. Writing starts here in the head, in the thoughts. So if you are not able to think critically, your writing becomes flat and insipid and it becomes kind of lifeless because the writing has no soul. So in order to find the soul of your writing, you need to start thinking critically, and this is what you want your students to do. So what do? You take any part of a story that you know very well. So you can take a fairy tale if you like. Take a simple story, not a novel. Take a simple little story that everybody knows, maybe Red Riding Hood, maybe a story like Sleeping Beauty, or you take something like Cinderella. Take a simple story, everybody knows it, we all know the characters, so it becomes easy. So take a fairy tale. You can also take the bigger one, the bigger genre. You can take a story from one of your textbooks if you like. There's no such, no binding that you have to do a simple story. You can take a comic strip, anything. Introduce dialogue into the part of the story that you have chosen. So take one part of the story and create a dialogue. Now normally the parts of the story where the dialogue is most effective is when there is a crisis, when there is a conflict. Those are the places where you can use dialogue. You can't use dialogue in a setting, very hard. You can have two people talking about the setting, but that's a more sophisticated way. If you want to look at character and you want to do dialogue, then that dialogue must tell me something about the character or many things about the character. The more it tells me about character, the better it is. Suppose you and I have a big fight and I use some really nasty language, terrible forms of abuse. It's not just what I'm saying to you, so you can't interpret it by saying they had a fight, they had a very bad fight, they had a horrible fight, they had a fight which almost became violent. You can write, now this is the bare bones of what happened. They had a fight. But the language that I use will say a lot about my education. It will say a lot about my upbringing. It will say a lot about my background. It will say a lot about the environment in which I am growing up in. Maybe it will be a reflection on my parents or the kind of school I go to or the company I keep. It will say so many things. So it's not just that I had a violent fight, which is like a very plain statement to make, but the language that is used, the dialogues that are exchanged have immense impact on the way in which we build character. Children need to know this. If children don't know this, then they will write vapid dialogues. You don't want that. So choose a part of a story so that the dialogue is essential to the meaning. That meaning should not change, and you should be able to infer. What I just told you now is inference of character in a different light. So if you want to do a really nice piece of sophisticated piece, I'm going to talk to you about 3 samples which I'm going to show you. Suppose the first one is, I can't believe you ruined my lovely lace dress. I had saved up to buy it for the ball. Barked Gertha at Cinderella. Now, in the story of Cinderella, you've got those 3 stepsisters, and you've got Gertha, one stepsister, who's shouting at this girl because they just love to shout, don't they? Those sisters are harangued, so they kind of shout and scream and abuse because they can, and this poor girl has nowhere to go. So she says, I can't believe you ruined my lovely lace dress. So maybe she was ironing it or something like that and burnt it. We don't know. I had saved it up. So she says, I saved it up to buy. It was not just any dress. I spent so much time and energy saving it up to buy it for the ball. This is what she has said. This is the dialogue. Barked. That reported verb is very important. Barked Gertha at Cinderella. Barked is a very harsh and powerful verb. So when children write, they need to be excited about reporting verbs. Do a lot of reporting verbs with children. What does this suggest? This suggests, first of all, incredulity at the carelessness. Oh my God, I can't believe you burnt my dress. It's got this pitch, right? Verbal aggression, barked. So when you bark, what is it? It's like a dog. So there is a certain aggression. When a dog barks, what do you think? It will jump at you. So you've got that verbal aggression. And you've got this poverty that is coming through. You can tell that they are not from very well-to-do families because saved up, they're saving up to buy a dress. So the poverty comes through. Now Cinderella's reaction is unclear in this. So if we put an extra line where we say Cinderella cowered, Cinderella quailed, whatever. If Cinderella stood and looked at her sister coldly, if you do anything like this, then we know Cinderella's reaction. But otherwise, we only know this bits from that dialogue. So the richer you make your dialogue, the more inferences readers will get. This is what your children need to know. Okay, but if you don't do it like this, by just telling them, please make your dialogues more rich, children, they won't get it. They need to see it. Let's look at another one. The same situation. How dare you ruin my horribly expensive lace dress that was meant to make me the belle of the ball, you idiot! Roared Gertha at a quivering Cinderella. How dare you ruin my horribly expensive lace dress that was meant to make me the belle of the ball, you idiot! Roared Gertha at the quivering Cinderella. What do you infer from this? Stop the video and think of what you'd infer. Okay. All right. Loud, roared. What does it tell you? Goethe is a loud person because she roared. She's class conscious. Expensive lace. See the expensive. She is very, very concerned about the kind of money that has been spent on that dress. It doesn't mean poverty. It just means she is very conscious of the fact that her dress is an expensive one. And then belle of the ball. What does belle of the ball tell you? Belle of the ball means she's vain. She wants to be the center of attraction. And she resents the fact that ruining that dress has lost her the opportunity. That's what it tells you. And then you've got Cinderella's reaction in this, terrified, quivering. So you can say that Cinderella is a timid person. She's quivering. She's really scared of this lady who's shouting at her. So you've got this one. Let's do another one, same one. I'm going to brand you with this hot iron for burning this hole in my dress. Giggled Goethe with a manic glint in her eye. I'm going to brand you with this hot iron for burning this hole in my dress. With a manic glint in her eye. What does this tell you now? Now Goethe's character is changing from time to time, isn't it? This has changed it completely. What does it mean? Her mildness made Cinderella's hair stand on end. When does your hair stand on end? When you're terrified. And what is making Cinderella really, really terrified of this woman is her mildness. So she's not raising her voice. I'm going to brand you. She's making it very sweet, polite, but what she's saying is dangerous. So what you see there is excessive violence. You see brand you. I'm going to brand you with she's actually telling her the consequences with a hot iron. It shows extreme carelessness or deliberate. So we don't know what it is, why she's saying that. Burning a hole. Now when you say burning a hole, was it deliberate? Did Cinderella really burn a hole or was it an accident? We are not sure. Madness is there in that ironic giggled. You don't expect somebody to say, I'm going to brand you with an iron and then giggle. You don't do this after saying something horribly violent, right? So there is a madness. And then there's a reiteration. In case you had any doubt about her being mad, the writer has said it for you by saying that there was a manic glint in her eye, like a maniac, a manic glint. And then the hair stand on end is when you have this terrifying experiences and your hair stands on end. So all that is building up the horror of the story. So the last one example I gave you is definitely from a horror story kind of genre, right? So just look at that. I've shown you 3 examples. Each of them are different. Each of them you infer different things and you can actually create some really very different characters of Goethe and probably very different characters of Cinderella if you so wish to. So you need children to just look at like the small pieces and do awesome stuff with it. Now children's imagination will run riot. If I show them these 3 pieces, they'll say they'll do all kinds of things with Cinderella and with Goethe. They'll make them mad, they'll make them adversaries, they'll make Cinderella into a warrior, they'll do everything. But that's the fun of it. So which is the most interesting characterization is what you would ask your students and say why. And then you get them to do one on their own and the instruction is remember punctuation marks in the dialogue, inverted commas, comma, and then close inverted commas. You need to teach this or question mark, close inverted commas, etc. Then you tell them I must be able to see the character of the person in his or her words or in the reaction of the other person. You can have 2 things. One is where I sound crazy and the other is where the other person listening to me has this fear. It can be both. Vocabulary must be excellent. Use writing with ease for help. You must show, not tell. So we don't want you to tell us anything. We don't want you to tell us Goethe was mad. That's boring. When you write it like this in a dialogue, the character of Goethe takes on a certain kind of menace. That kind of stays with you. And you start thinking about it and say, good Lord, I'm so happy I'm not in Cinderella's place. So people, if you're a teacher, go for it, do this in your class and tell me how it went. I'm sure the children will have a blast. Till we meet again, keep smiling.